I think at this point it's safe to say Sid from the Eminence and Shadow might be the most determined Chuuni I have ever seen, to the point that he legitimately frightens me and I think would potentially destroy the world by accident, not necessarily on purpose, but he would just be either caught in a fit of rage because his master plan's coming, it's just unfolding, it's crashing and burning, and this man just causes Armageddon because he's upset that a character like Rose isn't basically becoming the tyrant ruler and then in return making him the Eminence in Shadow. And just the numerous points in this episode, my god, I don't even know what happened to his ass at one point, because he basically, gets beat up by these goons, pants are pulled down, and I'm just like, bro, is being the Eminence in Shadow worth it if this is what happens? But, Sid's a determined man, I guess. Full live reaction over on my Patreon if you will see that. It's over there if you're interested. Now, what I really like about what I'd say so far the second half of Season 2 has done is it's really let Shadow Garden take control and kind of put themselves in the driver's seat. Now, you look at an episode like this, Sid had quite a few moments, especially in the back half. But whether it was last week or whether it's this week, it just feels like we're at a point now where Sid as the character is the comedy. He's a full bottle of comedy glue that just decides to make everything ridiculous, to the point that sometimes I think we're watching Looney Tunes and I'm like, there's no way this man is serious. And while that's fun, and I think a lot of the beginning intro hooks of Season 1 was basically that comedy, I like the fact that there is legitimately stories and these character arcs being told, and that's where Shadow Garden and basically the crew come in, and just the way this man, I think it's just my favorite part of the show is how they have different conversations with each other, but somehow line up close enough that they can continue down a path that both of them think the other is making sense. I think the best example I can give for this is look at the beginning of this episode when he's sitting eating his breakfast, right? Basically, I don't even think they were even like a percentage of the way being at the same spot. This man's just only thinking about being the Eminence in Shadow. This can't continue. And then she's just like, absolutely, I agree, this is getting insane. And just like the fact that he's just confused, like, why would Rose, 666? And just like, I love how there's all these moments that he's basically the perfect representation of a CEO who has no idea what's going on in the company, but gets paid the big bucks. Just in this case, he doesn't really realize that the big bucks are his for the taking, so he in return goes and does some other Chuuni nonsense and basically gets his own money. But the fact that he has no idea about the numbers, he has no idea about the Cult of Diablos, he's just basically like, listen, I'ma be the best damn version of the Eminence and Shadow I can be. And what do we end up getting? Well, we get moments where he gets to be the damsel in distress, don't talk to my woman like that. I think gets pounded quite literally, given his pants being removed. And then in return that same night, after he tracks him down, he kills all three of them without even the one dude who's talking noticing, and then he gets some gold, which he can then drop. It's insane. This show it feels like it never really lets its foot off the pedal, and if it does, it slows down slightly. But in return, you're always going to be laughing, you're always going to be like, wait a second, did he just do this? And honestly, I'm excited to see where the Rose stuff goes. I think that's actually a really interesting plotline. They kick off the episode pretty early with Rose pretty much being like, okay, Mom's here, doing the same nonsense that basically the closer to the end of Season 1 did with the key card and there's a ring here, what's that ring gonna do? They all jump in. We don't really get to see too much of the fight, but it was nice to see that, basically this was hot. This was tensions, stakes, they were risen. And overall, I think it's really funny just kind of separating Rose after Sid in his head is basically headcanoning his story. He's writing this tale in his head about how everything's gonna go, and he's really excited about the potential of Rose, and then just being like, oh wait, she doesn't want to be this. He goes super, I'm just like, the man almost launched off like a nuclear bomb, and I'm fully convinced Sid can just do that on a moment's notice. He can go atomic. He almost went atomic simply because Rose disappointed him, and I love how in the face of that, this is exactly what these members want to see. Our boss, our top dog, he's pissed off like we are. Screw that bitch Rose, he's gonna make her pay. And as he flies off in the distance in his head, oh man, I really wanted her to be the tyrant, I gotta make sure this is okay. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this man? I swear to God, Sid is one of the most broken characters, not even just on a power level, he is pretty broken there as well. But I mean mentally, he is absolutely disturbed, which if we think back to the first episode, before the isekai stuff occurred, he was wearing a paper bag and beating up bandits with a crowbar. We knew he had screws loose to begin with, but once you actually give him abilities and the potential to be the Eminence in Shadow, yeah, he needs a padded room. Like, I love Sid, don't get it twisted, but if this character actually was around us, he needs a straitjacket, he needs a padded room, and somehow he would still have all this nonsense that we're seeing occur because it would just all be playing in his head. Sid is legitimately one of the greatest characters I've seen in anime, not even just in the isekai medium, I mean in anime in general. He is an absolute riot and needs multiple seasons just so we can continue to see how he simultaneously plays into his delusions, all for that eminence and shadow glory, as he simultaneously helps this group progress through an actual interesting isekai story, and the mixture of comedy meets so serious and then lack of serious. It's just, I love it, man. There was a little bit of fun action, but like I said, I mean, some of it got cut short, but there was some cool moments. I mean, it's always nice when characters who maybe haven't had a lot of spotlight or as much spotlight in the season have the ability to swing a sword around or do a cool maneuver, but honestly, I just really like it when they're like clearly saying something that's interesting, or it's like, okay, you know, just ignore Sid, like cover up Sid on the screen and listen to what that character's saying. Don't look at his face, don't look at his mannerisms. You're like, oh, that's an interesting story beat, that's an interesting plot point, let's go down that, let's explore. Then do the same thing, cover up the other side of the screen, only focus on Sid, and he's just like, I wonder, ooh, would this get me to be a Chuuni? And then it's just like you combine the two together, and it's like sometimes I don't know which one to pay attention to more, because I'm laughing at Sid just being goofy as hell, and then at other points I'm like, oh, actually what they're saying is something I really want to explore more. And honestly, I've never experienced a show quite like this. I've seen plenty of shows where it's like kind of half serious, half parody, or just comedy in general. But it's just Sid, man. Like, he's legitimately one of the craziest characters I've experienced. And honestly, just put Sid in every damn show you want. I mean, hell, he got isekai'd once, just give him a teleporter and let him go into other anime. Throw him in anything you want, because I guarantee you the show will become at least 4 times better if Sid's a part of it. No ifs, ands, or buts. The most romantic romance show of all time? Throw the Eminence and Shadow in that bitch. You want a horror anime? Throw him in. He'll probably become the horror villain. Just do dumb shit with Sid as a character. I need it. I don't even care if it's fan edits or fan art. Just do it, because it is so good. I don't even know, man. Like, what do I even want to see with the last few episodes? Just whatever the hell this episode was. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course. Ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos. Channel, like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon. Hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Snake Eater 7, Nathan Semichuk, Gorvak, Zeshram, Dirk Lord, Dylan Miles, Brandon Logren, Extrin, Power 9987, Jessica Compton, Tiago Gomolas, and Fate. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.